So hey everyone, I'm back, and the reason you should watch this video is because today I'm going to talk about one of the most fascinating things about human body, and that is our ability to create mental images. So first let's go into the brain areas. So the process of creating images is highly complex in the brain, and it is uh, uh, very systematic, and it takes it is very systematic, and it is distributed across the brain in a very special kind of way. So first, how does so first let's talk about a slightly more important thing that most of you don't realize that you need to question, and that is how does the brain knows how real vision is different from imagined vision. How real vision, the things you actually see from your eyes, is different from what the mental images you are creating inside of you. How do these things, how the brain differentiates between these things even though the same brain regions are involved in the creation and generation of both. So the answer is basically simple. The real vision, the actual vision you see from your eyes, creates more stronger signals in your brain than the images that you mentally create inside of your head. And when you're creating mental images inside of your head, then your memory systems, your memory circuits like the hippocampus are heavily involved in that. While during real vision, you're not excessively using your memory, you're just processing sensory informations from brain areas like thalamus and hypothalamus, etc. So let's go back. How do you create mental images? So first, when you decide to imagine something like a cat, the prefrontal cortex lights up the front part of your head, and then it commands the brain to generate a picture of that. Now that signal goes to back a little bit back to your brain over here in the in this area, in the parietal cortex. And okay, so it goes from your head, then it goes up here, that signal in the parietal cortex, and then from the parietal cortex it goes down towards this area, where towards the end of your head, towards the bottom of your brain. Now the bottom of your brain is a very fascinating area because it contains a lot of different structures that have a lot of remarkable functions. For example, over here in your brain you have something called the fusiform face area, which is the area that help us to recognize faces. And these structures are extremely complex and intricate, and so many things have to be right for them to work. So this area of the brain, the bottom area over here, from where the parietal cortex's signals go from, this is also known as the ventral visual stream, as visual data is going from here, as data to create the mental images is going from here, from the prefrontal cortex to the parietal cortex, and now over here at the bottom of your brain. And now things get real because now the image starts to be created. I will display an image over here of the brain areas I'm talking about. Now, most of you might know that our vision is the brain area that covers that uh, generates vision. Vision in our brain is not the front of our head but the back of our head, which is known as the visual cortex. Now the visual cortex is not just one part, it is divided into 3 to 4 parts, like V1, V2, V3, V4. V1 being the most back part of our head, then V2 being a little bit further away from that, and V4 being a little bit more further. So the main visual processing that occurs is in the V1, the very back of your head. This is where the images uh, are actually being made. For example, now it communicates with the V2 and V4 to create colors, shading, and spatial spatial parameters. For example, how the thing is located in the environment, how it is working, how it is placed adjacent and adjacent to other things, how deep it is, how far away it is, how sharp it is, how edgy it is, how curvy it is. So all of these things are decided in the back of your head. And then there are chemicals like acetylcholine, which sharpens the images, and sharpens our focus on that image so we can see it more clearly. And then that image is held online inside your head through something we called loops, recurrent loops, for example thermocortical loops. These loops keep the image you just created online and help you repeat the, and these loops just uh, iterate and repeat over themselves to keep the mental image that you created online. So there are some conditions where you can't do that. For example, properly. For example, there's a condition I think called aphantasia, in which people simply cannot imagine other create mental images. They might know how things look like, maybe, but they can't create mental images at will. Now there is another type, hyperphagia. I don't think I pronounce it incorrectly, but I will write the name of those over here. So in this condition, people start to over imagine things, and they just can't help themselves from this excessive daydream mental images. And then the third example includes schizophrenia, where things where these systems become so overreactive that you start to experience hallucinations and start see things that are not there. So this was a little messy video, but I hope you learned something from it. See you in the next one.